Hey, hello guys. Welcome to JMeter's day 2 session. So, I see many of the members, Manoj, Lakshman, Nitesh, uh, Pooja, Ranveer. So you guys just please confirm that if I am audible properly to you, and also my screen is visible to you as well. Okay, I got reply from Ranveer. So things are fine. So we can start with the today's session. All right. Okay, Lakshman, thank you. Okay, so I believe you guys have already attended yesterday's session, day 1. So for today's session, we are going to move next and we are going to cover the course content part. For those who are attending this session the first time, I would recommend after this session that please go to the yesterday recording session so that it will make you a better picture and you can just relate the things what is going on. Okay, so yesterday's session was a kind of demonstration. So in that we just started from a basic concepts and we just moved by creating a test plan. Okay, so this was what the agenda of yesterday's session. We just had an overview of performance testing, features and benefits of JMeter, and we just created a test plan as well, and we executed that test plan, and finally we generated a HTML report. Okay, and yeah, of course there was some questions from you guys as well. So these much things we have already covered. So you have a basic understanding of what JMeter is, what is performance testing, and few more stuff like what thread is and other things. Okay, so now let's start for the today's session, and I will try to cover a bit of the things that if any one of you guys are new, so that you can make a better correlation of today's session. So I believe you already have installed JMeter in your system. That I demonstrated yesterday, that how to install and how to download JMeter. Okay, so now just move next. So these are what the agenda. All right, so sorry for that. So this is what the agenda of today's session. It's JMeter day 2. So many things. All right, so because I will try to cover all these points. If not, we'll cover in the next section if some point is going to miss. Okay, so installation and setup we already done. So next move to the performance lifecycle. Just to make the things clear, this will be a bit of theory part for the next 10 to 15 minutes roughly, and then we will move to the practical part as well. Okay, so this is what the agenda is. So we will cover the performance lifecycle, and we will try to distinguish between the load testing, stress testing, because this was what the question of this was what the question in yesterday's session, that what exactly load testing is, stress testing. So types of testing, you can say, what are the different type of performance testing that we have, and we will have a detail about test plan, what flows are, threads, we will touch it bit. All right, so finally we will discover other elements of JMeter as well. We will discover the proxy server, how we can create a test plan by recording any website. Right, so these much of things. Okay, so move to the performance lifecycle. So what performance lifecycle is? You know, every software has a life cycle. In a similar way, if we talk about the lifecycle performance, so these are the major points that comes under the performance lifecycle. So initially you will be getting a NFR document. This is what we discussed yesterday, that what actually NFR document is. NFR is non-functional requirement. So this is non-functional requirement. Non-functional requirement document. So this document tells about the strategy of our test plan or of our test. So what kind of test we are going to perform for our website, that derives from this document. So this document contains so many things. This contains that what exactly your application should have in terms of non-functional characteristics. Non-functional characteristics are like response time, threads running, okay, hits per second. This is what we call throughput in terms of JMeter. There is another term as well. You can refer it as a RPM or request per minute. So why we are just going in such details? Because once we go after the session, so in session 3 or session 4, so these terminologies we will be going to use frequently. So what RPM is, or what it's per second, or what throughput is, so that you will be better aware that what exactly we are talking about. So it will be very easy to you to just understanding the things better. Okay, so performance life cycle includes, first is the NFR document. Okay, so NFR document contains non-functional requirements, and what non-functional requirements are. So non-functional characteristics are response time, threads running, hits per second, okay, CPU utilization of your machine, you can say of your server. Server in the sense the application that you are going to test, referring that server. Okay, I will give you a quick understanding about client and server, what exactly we are referring client and what exactly we are referring server. So other details as well. So this NFR document is one of the part of performance lifecycle. Once we get the NFR document, we design our strategy. So you can say test strategy. Test strategy is the second part of performance lifecycle. So test strategy includes that. So test strategy actually comes from this NFR document. Okay, because if your NFR document state that you need your response time should be less than 2 seconds. All right, this can be one condition, or your NFR document states that your system must sustain 1,000 users. Right, so there can be some condition in NFR document that you need to achieve for your application during performance testing. So having these things in mind, you need to design your test strategy. Let's say if your NFR document states that you need to be having 1,000 users at least running in your system, then your test plan must be having more than 1,000 or 1,000 users, right? You can say virtual users, V users, or threads, right? If your NFR document states that your response time should be less than 2 seconds, so you must not go beyond the 2 seconds of average response time. So in that case, you need to focus on the response time, not on the threads. All right. So this test strategy, what exactly you need to do is depend on the NFR document. What exactly your NFR document states. Okay. So next is, so this is what the test strategy is. Next is test designing. You can say test plan creation. So this is the strategy that you need to be using 100,000 users, or you need to be having some hits per second based on your NFR document. So this is what the strategy is. So based on that strategy, you are going to design your test plan. So in your test plan, your thread group must be having 1,000 users, or some number of hits per second. You can say throughput. So having all these things in mind, you need to design your test plan. All right. So this is what the third part is of a performance lifecycle. So test designing. So once you have designed your test, what the next is the execution. Execution in the sense you are going to run the performance test. Right? So once you are done with the performance test, you need to go for the reporting, definitely. So reporting part is what? Generate report. You can say, I'm sorry, better to say reporting and analysis and reporting. Analysis / reporting. So you need to have a look at the response time, running rates. Errors are there. Some errors are there. What are the actually data transfer rate? Okay, so considering all these things, you need to analyze your result and then generate a report. Analyze result and generate report. Okay, so if that is done, you are going to make a baseline. So baselining and publishing. So baselining is what that you I think you already aware of. So baselining is what you are running your test, and you ran your test with 1,000 users. So whatever stats you got during running 1,000 users test, you got a hit of 5.5 per second. You got a response time of 2.5 seconds. All right, so these many of stats. If you have inside of your server, you got CPU of 60%, 60% CPU utilized, and many others. So memory utilization. So all these stats we collected and marked as a baseline, so that in our next test we can compare with these stats and can say that if our website performance is improved or degraded. Right. So basically, these are the 6 points that consist of a performance lifecycle. Okay. I have got a question. Please explain the baseline. Okay. So there is a question from Ranveer Kumar that what exactly baseline is. So baselining is what you are going to run your test. Let's say your application is up and running in test environment, or better to say performance environment. So you guys are aware about performance environment or other environments? Do I need to explain it a bit? Different environments? No? All right. Yeah. So I need to explain about the environment as well. No problem. All right. So I will cover the environment as well. So now, what exactly baselining is? You run your test. Okay. So let's say your application is up and running, and your application build version is 2.3. Okay, 2.3 build number. That you have to do a performance test for this build 2.3. That you did. You followed all these things. You gone through the NFR document. You designed a test strategy. You started designing your test plan. You run your performance test. You analyze the result and generate your report. Okay. So in your report, what should be? There must be some stats like how many hits per second was there when you performed performance test for build 2.3. How many V users were running, right? Hits per second V users were running. What was the data transfer rate? Whether KB per second or, right? So input and output, send per second and receive per second. What was the CPU utilization of your server? Okay, memory utilization. So during your when you have performed performance tests and in your reporting, these much things should be included. So these are what the stats we got during the performance testing of build version 2.3. After your sprint ends, probably after 15 days or next build comes, let's say 30 days, whatever it is. So after 30 days, you got another build 2.4, right? For that as well, you have to do a performance test. So you already have these data during the build 2.3. Okay, so considering that you have not made any changes in your script, or there is no major change, you have performed the same user load with all the things keeping same for now, and you got some number. So you got hit per second. So all these stats you collected during the performance test of build 2.4 as well. So what you can do, you can compare this data with your previous data 2.3, right? Because you have not changed your users, you have not changed so many things in your script, keeping all those things same. So you can have an idea that exactly what these stats are. So earlier you got hits per second, and now what is the hits per second? So you got an improvement or not? You earlier, what was your response time, and what exactly now the response time is? So you can make a comparison with the previous data and easily state that your performance is improved or degraded, right? So this data we refer as a baseline data, right? And this test you refer as a baseline test. Okay. So there is one question. Can you briefly relay that the impact to the customer of hits per second, say V users, the customer saying how many V users hit their site every second? This I can briefly relay the impact of the customers of the hits per second versus, all right? So, okay. Hits per second versus users, right? So there is a relation between hits per second versus user. Okay, so this question is actually a bit moderate kind of questions. It's not so basic. So you exactly want to know that what is a relation between V users versus hits per second, right? Okay, this is exactly what the question is, right? So you can achieve okay, so your question is why should the customer need to know hits per second? Okay, so yesterday we just explained about that. You can measure your website performance by considering few of the things. Okay, so how can you exactly measure your website performance? So your question is why should customer need to know hits per second, right? So customer need not need to know. Actually, there is nothing to do with the customer about the hits per second. We the responsible person of the website should know that how much hits per second on the website is. So there is nothing to do with the customer. If you are a customer hitting some website, Flipkart or Amazon, you need not know about the hits per second. And we are hitting any website or doing any performance test for a website, we are not a customer at that point of time, right? Because we are taking care of the website performance. So we are someone who cares of the website. Who is responsible for doing performance test or doing or to keep your website running fine, right? So to answer to your question, like why customer need to know, so there is nothing to do with the customer about the hits per second, but as a business user, if you own a website that is up and running, you need to know that what exactly hits per second on my website is. And at that point of time, hits per second, how exactly my website performance is. Okay, because there are some criteria that you can through that criteria you can measure your website performance. That can be hits per second, users load, your CPU utilization, your server CPU utilization, actually, your server memory utilization. So data transfer. So data transfer in the sense how much data is being transferred in KB per second, or yeah. So KB per second, MB per second. So these are the actually you can say characteristics or the factors that actually decide the website performance. Any website performance you can decide based on these stats. Okay. Okay, so if you want to talk, just try to unmute yourself, and let's just give me a minute. I will try to unmute you if you are not able to do that. Right.
Hello?
So
Okay.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, all I'm asking is if product says we have like the NFR document says we have 1,000 users that hit our site, or 10,000 users that hit our site every 10 seconds. And they say
right.
we want to make sure our website performs properly. Right. I'm just wondering what the hits per second impact is. Is it a situation where if we give them this information, the developer can use this information to optimize the site? Or is it something that will actually help the product team to make some kind of decision? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. So
okay.
It depends upon your website, exactly. So that depends upon the nature of the website as well. Okay, so if you are having a website that is capable of handling so many of user session, okay, so these are the points through which we decide the website performance. So your website can be in a problem state based on hits per second. Your website can be in a problem state based on user load. Your website can be in a problem state based on CPU utilization or in memory utilization. Okay, so it's not hard and fast that what exactly number you have to present to your developer or architect team saying that this is what the problem is, but you need to identify that what exactly choking your website performance. So in such a way, you need to identify that you are able to achieve this much of load with, let's say you are able to achieve 10 hits per second of load with 1,000 users, all right, and the same 10 hits per second load can be achieved using 2,000 users as well, right? But in the first situation, you got your website performance well, but in the second situation, you got your website performance not well. So you can say that here users are making problem to your website and not the hits per second, right? So there can be situation where any of these points can be a problem for your website. So it's not fixed, and it's not hard and fast that what exactly problem can be your website. What exactly of any of these points can be problem for your website, but you need to identify. Okay, maybe with the 10 hits per second running 1,000 users, your website running well. Probably it may be that with 10 hits per second with 2,000 users, your website is running well. But this point of time, you got high CPU, right? So that depends. That depends upon what exactly your website behavior is.
That was very clear. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so where you were? Okay, so we were on baselining, right? And we were talking about the performance environments, right? Right. So this session, I think, is something going to be a theory part because a lot of terminologies we have to cover. But don't worry, we will jump to the practical session as well. We will try to cover all these points very quickly, and I will try to demonstrate how to use proxy server in a practical session and so many stuffs in a practical manner as well. But just note these points as well because this is going to be very helpful during our throughout the course content because these points are actually terminologies that you need to know. Okay, so there can be many questions. Like one question is for the both case in our example, for the both case hits per second is same, but we got the users increased, right? So one question is how can be high CPU with that same hits per second, right? There can be a reason that handling 2,000 users is more problematic for your server, and that may cause high CPU. Doesn't matter that you are getting 10 hits per second, but you have increased the user, that can be a problem. You may get high CPU or you may get high memory as well. So all these things, so these are kind of analysis kind of things that you need to know that you will be definitely knowing in the coming 2-3 sessions. Upon completion of 2-3 sessions, you will be having a good idea about these things, how exactly things works when performing a performance test, what exactly can play a role, what can cause your high CPU, how can you increase users having the same hits per second. So all these stuffs you will be definitely going to know in the coming sessions. Not to worry about that. Okay, so this was what the question to your answer, what exactly baselining is. Okay, so in 2.4, we have some data and we have to compare those data with our baseline test. Okay. Right, so these completes our NFR. One more point I would like to cover is the environment. So what environment is? So when you do performance test of any website, I believe you guys are already having a testing background. For that, when you have to validate any functionality of your application, so there are actually environment. There are different environment that can be like one is the just I'm noting down. One is the production environment, where exactly your live application is running. So this is what dealing with the customers, right? So just start with a very initial. So there is a development environment. I'm going from downward to upward. So I'm starting with a development environment. So this is what the environment where developers develop few things. So your application is developed here. So developer at their end do sanity, okay, sanity and basic validation. In their environment, so he ensures that whatever functionality he has developed is working expected. Okay, so once the development is completed, a build is released. So upon that build that version is deployed in a test environment. So there are different environment that depends upon what exactly you name it. So you can say a test environment. So inside test environment, you deploy the same code that was developed by developer, right? Okay, so you take the code which was developed by developer in deployment environment, you deploy that code in test environment, where exactly manual and automation kind of things happen. So you validate the functionalities. So test environment is nothing but a set of few servers, right? Few servers up and running with all the requirements that your application demands. So requirements in the sense what database you need, okay, what front end server you need, what caching server you need, okay, and other things, okay. So all these things are already set up in this environment. So this environment, you can say, having a different URL. Okay, so you can access this. So you can access the application which is deployed with a different URL to this environment. This can be something URL kind of thing, can be s.yourwebsite.com. If your website is your website domain is your website for now, say. So your test environment URL would be like test.yourwebsite.com. Okay, so in a similar way, when you will be having performance test, you must be having a performance environment. So what performance environment would be? Same set of servers which are required to run this application. Okay, so that what type of application it is? So there are servers like front end servers which is required by the application. So servers, database, search engine if needed, okay, cache server, caching engine if needed. So whatever is needed by this application could be available in test environment as well, performance environment as well, and same in the production environment as well. Okay, so once developer develops something, that develops in their own environment, that is released and that is deployed in test environment where automation and manual kind of things happens. And you take the same build when tester verifies all the functionalities, that all the things are up and running fine, there is no such bug or something that need to recheck in. Okay, so all the things are set up, all the things are verified by the tester, then that code is deployed in perf environment. Okay, so that code is deployed in perf environment, and where you do performance testing. So your perf environment URL should be perf.yourwebsite.com. So once you hit that URL, you will be hitting your performance environment. So whatever servers are there in performance environment would be overloaded. Okay, so this would not be having any impact. This would not be having any impact, and even the production environment would be not having any impact, because just take it in another way. If you are doing a performance testing of your application and that is available to the customer as well, probably you may break down your application with so much users. So at that point of time, your actual customers will be impacted. your application would be having a downtime. So this will be a business loss. Okay. So what happens, like, to do performance test of any application that was developed, there is a separate environment created for performance testing, which we say performance environment, right? Yes, exactly. So there is a question from Chandra. So do we require different URL for the performance other than test URL? So if there is a separate performance environment created in your organization, definitely you will be having a different URL for that environment. But if you do not have a dedicated performance environment to do your performance test, you can use the test environment URL as well. But make sure that whatever application you are testing is actually validated by the testers. So there is no such issue going on. So if your application is fully verified and verified by the tester, you can test your application in test environment as well, but ensure that no other activity is going during that period. So inform all the testers and all the members that are using test environment that not to use the environment during your test time. You did not get hacked. All right. Okay, so what happens, like, you have test environment, right? So the question was, do we need performance environment to do performance testing? Cannot we do with a test environment as well? You can do, but what happens, like, test environment is not your dedicated environment, which is shared with the testers, or you can say or other members as well, or other members. So these testers and other members are using this environment. Okay, you are not aware that what exactly going on or how many testers are using my environment. You started your performance test and you were able to achieve only 5 hits per second. Okay, and at that point of time, you got your CPU 80% utilized. Number what you got, but what was happening that these users are already using this environment. So these users are already overloading that environment. So you are getting a wrong number, right? Because you have to do your performance test in an isolation way, so that exactly you can say this is happening because of my performance test, not by others users. Okay, so what we do, if you have a shared environment, for that you have to do performance test. Notify the users first that this test environment will be using by the performance team during this time of period. So please do not hit that environment at that point of time. Okay. All right. So you guys got a picture of the environment, what exactly environment are, and why we have categorized those environments. All right, so I think this is going to be a theory part only, because we have a lot of things to cover. So not to worry, bear with me, because these concepts are going to work with you for a long time of period. Okay. All right, so we have covered life cycle. We have covered performance environment, other environments as well. Okay. So move to this part: test, load testing, stress testing, and endurance testing, test plan flows. Okay. Meanwhile, let me launch the JMeter, because I'm going to need JMeter very quickly. JMeter not bad. All right, JMeter not bad. Okay, so what load testing is and how it is different from stress testing. Anyone of you would like to answer what load testing is and what stress testing is? So what is the difference between load, stress? Are you? kind of, okay, fair. I'm going to explain you. Okay, so sorry. So all these things are load testing, stress testing, endurance testing, spike testing. These comes under performance testing. First thing, these all comes under performance testing. So what is the difference? So first, load testing. Load testing is what regularly what we do is a load testing. So you can say that you have a baseline, okay, and you more than the specified users. Yes. So there is the answer from Chandra. Stress is what? Increasing the number of user more than the specified user. Exactly. Yes, yes. This is what is. So we do our performance test and we do a load test. Okay. We do load test. So load test is what? We do a regular kind of performance test in which we have some baseline. For that, we know running 1000 users for a regular load, we get 60% of CPU. We get 45 to 50% of RAM. We get 1.7 second of response time. Okay, this is 1.7 second. So these much things we are getting during the load test. Okay, which we do regularly when a new build comes. So we have build 2.3, we got 2.4, next we got 2.5. So all these things we do during our regular build to build. So this we refer as a load test. Okay, but this can be turned into the stress one if we try to find out that what the maximum uses our application can sustain. Okay, because running 1000 users, we have 60% CPU, still we have buffer to go up to 75 or 80, right? Or until we do not observe the degradation in the performance of our application. So we have buffer. We have 45 to 50% RAM. We have 1.7 second response time. Say we have SLA of 2.4 or 2.5. So we have buffer here, right? So we can go up to 2.4 second. We can go up to 75 to 80% CPU from 60%, which we are getting during a load test. So this can turn into a stress test once we try to increase the users and we try to achieve more load on your server. Okay, so you can say a stress test can be when we test our application performance to the maximum capacity. Okay, so maximum capacity could be, so stress test can one be that find out the peak point of your application until your application performance is well, and upon that point your application performance will be started degrading. Okay, so this can be a peak point where your application can sustain maximum users load, can perform well with a maximum utilization of CPU, RAM and all the resources. We actually define baseline for load test, but we do a stress test as well to find out the peak of your application. So you must be aware that this is what the maximum capacity of my application is. Beyond that, my application is going to break. So this is what the stress testing is. We fully utilize your application resources at a maximum capacity. So there is one question from Chandra. Can we use 100 of CPU and RAM in the stress? No, not, because at 100 of CPU, nothing will be running. Okay, so your application will be in a trouble state after 80, around 85. So if you going to touch 90, definitely you will be getting a degradation in the performance. You must be started having for 500 error. Your response time must be going beyond SLA. So these much stuffs, these much things you will start noting. Okay. So we have completed load and stress. So what endurance is? Any one of you would like to answer about endurance testing? I'm just waiting for your answer. Keep the application under load for a long time, testing the app for longer period of time. Exactly. This is what endurance testing is. So we do, generally we do performance testing for a period of 30 minutes, 1 hour, and maximum 2 hours, depending upon the nature of the application, but this is what generally being used. But sometimes your application demand to run for a longer period of time, because what happens, like if there is a offer going on and probably your application would be having a good amount of user load for a longer period of time, say 20 hours, right, or 24 hours, even more than that. Okay, so to know the actually performance of your application, that what is going to be happen with my application if my application is continuing running on a load, on load, or not on the stress, but on a load basis, that regular load testing we do for a longer period of time. So you do a load testing for a longer period of time, say 20 hours, 24 hours, even more than that, 48 hours. So what going to be happen? Okay, your application is going to sustain, or it's going to break after 10 hours, 15 hours, because we have done the performance for 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, but you are not aware about the application performance for a longer period of time. Okay, so one quick question for you guys. So why that need to done? Why we need to do a endurance testing for a such long time? For what purpose? So one purpose is like to know the situation, like your application is able to sustain for a longer period of time, right? But what could be the suspect behind that? Okay, what possibly the reason could be? If your application is going to run for 24 hours, what could be the problem your application will face? Now, so I got a very good answer from Rajni Goldshrestha. This is what the memory leaks. If you have to run endurance tests, the major objective behind that test would be the memory leak. Okay, this is a very important question as well that is being asked in the interview. Okay, so to see the memory leak or to see the memory behavior, we do a regression test. Endurance testing. Because memory is a kind of thing that you cannot identify in a 30 minutes run or 1 hour run or 2 hour run. Okay, because it's increased gradually and you will see a leak kind of behavior after 10 hours run or some long duration run. Okay. Alright guys, so there is one as well, spike testing. So I'm getting another question. What is memory leak? You know, memory leak is what? I'm just trying to explain. Just a minute. What happens, like you started your performance test, okay, with not so long. So this is what the ramp up. This is what the duration, and this is what the ramp up. So you guys are not exactly aware about these terms, ramp up, duration, and ramp down. A bit of, because we had an overview yesterday. Okay, so this duration is say 60 minutes. Right, so what happens during this run? You got your memory pattern something like this. You got your memory pattern something like this. Your test was stopped and your memory was stopped here, right? So here this is what the memory utilization graph is. Okay. This can be any unit, it can be percentage, it can be MB or KB, whatever you refer it. But this what exactly your memory utilization trends look like. Okay, but you see a slant increment, right? You see that if you start from here and draw a straight line, so you see a gap here, right? So this is what you see a gap. But because initially this gap was very few, and it has increased a bit during a 60-minute duration. So you are not sure that if this test is going to run for 10 hours, because if this is what the memory utilization is, here you got a 30% memory utilization, at the end of test you got a 50% memory utilization. So what will happen if you increase your test? Because if this trend follows to keep increasing, your system memory will be soon occupied 100% and your system will die, right? So this is what we suspect as a memory leak. Memory leak in the sense your application is not releasing the memory over time. What generally happens if your application occupies memory from your system, your application should use that and should release that. Okay, or if your application is not doing that, so there is one other member, which is GC, garbage collector, will be responsible for collecting those garbage memory. Okay, but your application should be releasing those. Okay, there should be no any reference to those memory points, so that GC can collect those. So come to the point. So what exactly happening here is we are suspecting a memory leak over here, because what memory leak is, your application was initially 30% and at the end of test we see a growing pattern. Okay, so this is what we are suspecting it as a memory leak. Okay, you got your answer? Okay, so yeah, spike testing. Well, what spike testing is? So I think yesterday we covered this as well, a bit of. So spike testing is what? We do ramp up of say 100 users in 10 minutes, okay, and then run those 100 users for 60 minutes. And then after 60 minutes, we ramp down those users. So we are gradually increasing the users, 100 users in 10 minutes. And all those 100 users will be actively hitting the application after 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes, we are just sending 10 users in first minute, 20 users in second minute, okay? 30 users in 3 minutes, 40 users in 4 minutes. So in the 10th minute, we sent all 100 users. Okay, and those 100 users are hitting your application. But there can be a test plan as well, where you send all those 100 users at a single point of time, not in this 10-minute period. Okay, we just collected 100 users in a thread group and just sent all those simultaneously into the system. So that will cause a spike in your system. So a spike can be in response time, in hits per second, in CPU utilization. Okay, so we forming this spike with the help of test plan. This kind of testing is called spike testing. Okay, because we are forming a spike in hits per second in your application in the terms of users entry. So all the users actively get into the system at a single point of time. Yeah, sudden increase in load is what spike testing is. All right, so you guys are aware about the test plan. I have already opened a JMeter, so let me close this. So a test plan is what we have created one yesterday, a Snapdeal one. So this is a very basic test plan having only a single sample. So another test plan can be, so let me demonstrate that. So another test plan can be this one, which contains a lot of samplers, launch page, login page, find flights. So this is one of the application of a HP Wave Tour application, the local application. Let me show you that as well. This is the application, what it is. For that test plan was created. So let's launch the application, log into the application. Okay, click on flights, choose flights. So choose flights. Okay, find flights, continue. Find flights, continue. Okay, payment, do payment. You can make payment without credit card as well in this application, right? Okay, and you have booked a ticket. Okay, so this is what a test plan is. And after booking, after payment, let's click on itinerary. Click here, and this is what the ticket just we booked right now. It's showing here. And this is what the next step is, clicking on home page. Okay, welcome. And then it's making a sign up. This minute making a sign up. So what we have covered so far is a flow. So this is what a flow is. So what a flow is, it consists of a certain steps like launching the application, doing login, clicking flights, okay, finding flights, choosing flights, taking payment, and clicking home and sign up. So this is what a flow, and this is on what considering all this flow, and this is considering thread group, all this flow, and this is the listeners, this is the random timer, and this is header manager. So all these elements, so these are called elements in terms of JMeter. So each and every thing that you see here we refer as the element in JMeter. So all these elements, okay, so yes, all these elements which are inside this Wave 2 demo, this is what a test plan is, and this test plan consists all these elements. We say it as a test plan. Okay, so a test plan should be having different JMeter elements with a thread group with few samplers. So samplers can be whatever samplers you need to form a flow, whatever flow you have. Based on that, you would be having different samplers. and some listeners and random timers. So that depends upon what kind of scenario you are creating. So this is what makes a test plan. So all these elements are making a test plan. Okay, so this is a test plan. What it is? Flows, I have already told you that what a flow is. A flow is like logging to the system, making payment, signing off, all these steps. Okay, this is a flow. You already know threads in terms of JMeter. So these are the V users or virtual users. Ramp up, I believe, already has been covered. So you are sending 100 users in your system, but not at once, but in some time, in 10 minutes time or in 5 minutes time. So duration is what? The steady state. So this can be easily understandable by this. So I have a thread plan, number of 3 users, ramping up in 30 seconds, running for 30 iterations. Okay, but this test plan can be created in another way, like I want to run this not for 30 iterations. Say I have one user ramping up in 1 second, and I just want to run that user for 5 minutes duration, which is 300 seconds. So what will happen? So in the last session, I just let you know that if you run one thread for 1 iteration, so one thread will go hit the snapdeal, so hit whatever samplers are. So sampler we have snapdeal.com only. So one thread will initiate, hit the snapdeal.com. So one thread will initiate in 1 second and hit the snapdeal.com. Since the iteration, since the loop count is 1, it comes back and do nothing. Okay, but I make it 4 or 5. One thread will initiate, hit the snapdeal.com, comes back, go again, hit the snapdeal.com, comes back and do it for 5 times. But one thing can be, I say that, hey thread 1, go hit snapdeal.com, come back, go hit, come back and do this for 5 minutes. Doesn't matter how many counts you are doing. I'm not concerned about the count, but do it for 5 minutes. All right? Or do it for 1 hour, do it for 2 hours, do it for 10 days. Can we do? No, this is not the stress testing. Stress testing is what we increase number of threads here, right? Right. So that depends upon that what exactly your system is capable of. If we increase the thread and your system is not overloaded, so that will be considered as a load testing. If your system is overloaded, then it will be considered as a stress testing. Okay, but this is not what exactly load testing or stress testing. This is exactly what I'm saying, that how many way you can run your test. Okay, you can run your test either by iteration count or either by duration. So this is what exactly a better performance test plan is. We decide some users and run those users for a specific period of time, but not basis on the count. Right? So this happens mostly that we run basis on the duration. Right? So we run in a way like we run 10 users test for 10 minutes duration, for 30 minutes duration, for 1 hour duration. Right? So I will run a test as well in my local machine. So I will hit this website, will say my users to go to this website, log into the system and make flight reservation, do payment, and then signing off. Okay. We'll run a test. Okay, so where we were, duration, ramp down is what? So, right, so this is one of the very basic thread group. So there are different thread groups as well in JMeter, because this is what a very basic to make you easily understand. This is what I chosen, this thread group. But there are different thread group as well that gives you a option to stop your threads in a way you want to stop that. So take this example, like we have 100 threads, all right. We instructed those threads to get into the system in 10 minutes of time, all right. And we told those threads run for 60 minutes, but we have not told that to exit the system in how many time, because all 100 threads are actively running here, okay. But once 60 minutes is completed from this point of time, so how those threads will be get out of the system? All those 100 threads will get out at once, all right. All those 100 threads will get in a single minute. All those 10 threads will get out in 10 minutes. Yeah, all those 10 threads will get out in 1 hour, right? So this is what the ramp down is. Ramp down. This is ramp up, and this is ramp down. Up, down, right? And this is what the duration is. So ramp down is what we instruct our threads to exit the system in how many time, in what manner. We can say that 5 thread will exit each minute, right? We can say 1 thread will exit each second. We can say all thread exit in 1 minute, in 1 second. Whatever, it's up to us how we design our test plan, right? And one more thing, so these all designing how many users we should have, how our users ramp up in the system, for how long they will be hitting continuous in the system, steady state, and how they will exit the system. This is what called scenario. All right, so this designing we refer as a scenario. Note it down, because this is one of the important things that basically load runner use these terms strictly as a scenario. Okay, we will be also using these terms during our next upcoming sessions. What exactly scenario would be? So if I say that our scenario consists of 100 users running, ramping up in 1 minute, running for 1 hour, ramping down in 2 minutes, so you must be aware. This is, we are talking about the scenario. All right, guys. All right, so load generator you already know. So load generator is what? Our JMeter is a load generator tool. JMeter is a load generator tool that generates load. And you can say the machine on which the JMeter is running is a load generator. Okay, because if I'm going to hit my system from my machine, this is my machine in which JMeter is running. Oops. This is what JMeter is running in my system. Okay, so JMeter is a load generator. Load generator tool, and we whole as a system we refer as a load generator. So basically a system which consists of JMeter to generate load, we refer that system as a load generator. All right. All right, so we overview elements of JMeter. So let's we have covered so many theory parts. Any questions till now that I have not answered, or any question you have? No more question? So let's proceed. So GUI overview. So most of you guys are already aware of most of the things in JMeter, but let me quickly demonstrate you what exactly JMeter consists of. So this is what save button. This is cut. So one simplicity of JMeter is you can just Control C and Control V the things. Control C, Control X, Control V. So this is one of the element, snapdeal.com. This is a HTTP request, right? This is a sampler. We say it a sampler. This is what a listener is. This is what a thread group is. And this is what our test plan is, right? So you can right click it, Control C, either shortcut or copy it, go to the thread level, right click and paste it. So you got another exactly same thing, right? In similar way, you can copy the thread group as well, but you cannot copy the thread group inside thread group. Okay, so nothing has happened. So what you can copy thread group inside the test plan. You got all the things. So easy, right? So you can drag and drop the things from one thread group to another one, another thread group to another one. Even each and every element, you can just make multiple selection and drag these to the thread group. Okay, so this is what the simplicity and power of JMeter is. You will enjoy a lot during your test plan creation, definitely, because I'm not sure that you are already aware of any other tool as well, but if you have used any other tool, this is going to make you more fun. Okay, because that tool will not provide you such thing, right? Easily drag and drop, copy and paste kind of things. Okay. Okay, so there is one question from Rajni. Does it means we keep different scenario in different thread groups? Exactly. You can keep different scenario in different thread groups. So one thread group, this one can be having 100 threads, ramping up in 10 minutes and running for 300. So another thread group could be having 50 threads, ramping up in 50 seconds and running for running forever. Okay, so different thread groups can have different scenario. You can make your thread group based on your requirement. These are completely separate. Okay. One thing, since we are talking about the GUI overview and elements of JMeter, so we have different elements. So if you right click on a thread group, you will be having samplers. So these much are samplers. All these we refer as element. Logic controller, all these we refer as element. Since this is one of the element, and this element is if controller. Right? So this is the name of this element, if controller, but this is what an element is. We say it as element. This is the if controller. So all these things. So we have preprocessors. These are we say elements under preprocessor, post-processor, assertions we have. So you know about assertions? No problem. We'll let you know. Timers we have, test fragments, config elements, listener. So all these we say as a element. All right. So important thing here is you need to know about the hierarchy. So understanding elements hierarchy. Yes. So here we have hierarchy. On top we have test plan, right? So let me delete it. We have a thread group. Here we have a test plan as well. And these things, let me move inside this. Let me make it for one user, one ramp up, and one iteration. Make it for one user, one iteration, one ramp, one iteration. All right, saving this. I'm just trying to make you understand the hierarchy, what exactly elements are underlying in which parent member. So test plan having the top hierarchy. So whatever you have in test plan, if I add a listener view results tree. So this view results tree element. So there is one question. So I am having: is it possible to record and play flow in JMeter? Definitely. This is one of the important part. We do recording and we replay the script. Even if you note that I have just put recording a website through JMeter Proxy recorder. So there is a proxy server recorder inside JMeter through which we record website. Okay, because every time we are not going to create a website manually. Even if you see this website, this test plan, sorry, this is what was recorded through proxy recorder. Okay, this is what not I have created each and everything manually. Because if you are going to create manually, there will be chances of missing headers and all these things. So proxy recorder is there. There are other ways of recording as well. We will take each and every way of recording how we can record a website in the upcoming session, or probably today if I get some time. Okay, so you can record and play the script, record, debug, and play the script in JMeter. Okay, so I was on hierarchy. All right, so I just added a view results tree listener at a test plan level. So this is acting as a parent for all these and have the same hierarchy as thread group. This thread group, say thread group, and this say thread group 1. This thread group and this thread group have the same hierarchy as the view results tree has, right? So say it's Snapdeal and say it's Snapdeal-1, just to differentiate. Okay, so in thread group, I have a listener, I have two listener, view results tree with aggregate report, which is only going to show the result of this Snapdeal sampler, right? This view results tree will not show the result of this Snapdeal-1 because the scope of these elements are only inside this thread group. Okay, so there is a scope of child elements up to their parent elements only. Okay, since in the similar way, these listeners will not show the result of this Snapdeal, but we have added this view results tree at a test plan level, which has the same hierarchy as thread group and thread group 1 has. So this view results tree will show the result of this Snapdeal and this Snapdeal-1 both. Got it? Yes, not combined. So you will be having aggregate reports. So you will be having label Snapdeal, label Snapdeal-1. Right, so I'm just going to demonstrate you. So you got the hierarchy. So even if you add some element, if you go to add a what should be user defined variable. So if you add a user defined variable, not to worry about these things because we will cover these things in much detail. Okay, just to let you know the hierarchy, I'm just adding these as a variable. So I have a variable, say variable1, its value is some value. Okay, so this variable1 would be available for all these elements because this is at the test plan level. But if I move these user defined variables, so this variable one would only be available to this thread group and not to this thread group. Right? So we will covering these things later when we would be using variables for designing our better test plan. Okay, now I'm just deleting it. Okay, so if we have different thread groups and want to see the results of all thread groups in a single listener, then your listener must be at the test plan level. So quickly run it because we have one iteration and one loop count for Snapdeal. Okay. Probably I would be saving this result as well. So not to save this, just delete it. We are starting with very basic so that we can quickly understand the things to create our complex test plan. All right, so clearing all, I'm not sure that. So are you guys getting some trouble in audio? Just a minute. I'm just checking my connection. Just give me a minute. Things are looking good from my end. Oh, the good speed as well. Okay. Just a minute. Can someone know? Let me know. So, what is the situation now? So, the audio quality is good. It's good. Okay. Great. Can we continue, right? Okay. What we were talking about. Okay, so we have a view results tree here. View results tree, aggregate report. Okay, so let's run it for one and one. Oh yeah, these two buttons, right? So this is what clear is. This is what the clear all. So let me run it first. Then I will let you know that what these two buttons are important. Just starting it, right? So see. I have thread group 1 in which I have a label say Snapdeal, another Snapdeal 1. Since my view results tree at the test plan level having the same hierarchy as thread group and thread group 1, it shows the both samples. Snapdeal 1. All right, so you can see the response by changing the way here from text to HTML. It will show you a HTML kind of thing. Even Snapdeal as well. Okay, so both we got proper response. But if you go to the thread group and see the view results tree, you got only Snapdeal, since its scope is only limited to this thread group. And inside that thread group, whatever samplers you have will be shown in these listeners. That's why we only got Snapdeal in aggregate report, which is inside thread group, right? In the similar way, if you go inside thread group 1 and see the aggregate report, you got only Snapdeal 1. Even in view results tree as well, you got only Snapdeal 1, but view results tree shows the combination of both. Right? You got both result in your results tree. Okay, so this was what about the hierarchy. Okay, any question on it? Sampler, listener, header manager, proxy server. Okay, so today I will only just give you an overview of proxy server, what it is, how it works, and we'll start the recording in next session. Not today, but I will make you a clear understanding about the proxy server, how it works, and why we are going to need it, and how it can save our a lot of time. Okay. So Ranbir Kumar, you want to know about header manager, right? So we'll let you know header manager what exactly it is. So if you go for a website, not to go in the test plan, but go for any website. I'm just launching developer tool. You know about developer tool? Control-Shift-I is the shortcut. Or for Chrome, oops. You go inside more tools, developer tools. Okay. You go to developer tool. On network, if you go google.com or any website, simply I'm telling about header manager, what header manager is. If you go to google.com or www.google.com or www.google.com, so this is what I typed, google.com. It redirects to me http://google.com, and finally I got www.google.com, and this is what exactly https://google.com. So take any one, no problem. This is what the header tab is, this is what the preview, this is what the response, this is what the cookie, this is what the timing. So you have a header tab here in which it shows the response header, it shows the request header. Okay, so we are not dealing about response header. This is what this is what Google sends, okay, in our in the response. So once we hit google.com, this is what the headers that has been set by the Google. Okay, this is what the header that is sent by Google Chrome. By default, our Google Chrome sends some headers to the server. So what headers are? So our Google Chrome sent a header accept and says that text HTML, application X HTML XML, application/XML, Q is equal to 0.9, images WebP, images APNG, */*, application signed exchange, and a lot of steps. In similar way, it sends accept encoding ZZip, deflate, BR. So what these actually means are, our browser Google Chrome send a request to Google by sending this www.google.com. So it request for that page, send me the response of www.google.com. But when you are sending the response, this is what the Chrome says to Google server. When you are sending the response, keep in mind that I only accept text and HTML. So I accept the type text and HTML. So your response should be to me come in text and HTML format, or it can be XML, XHTML, or XML format. Okay, or it can be application/XML format. So these are what the format currently I am accepting. So you need to take care of these things, and your response should be in that format. So to make the response faster, there is a compression being used. So once you request google.com, Google server send the data in compressed format. Okay, because you compress the data, it will be smaller in size. You have 10 KB of data. If that data is compressed, it will be 3 KB or 4 KB. So to make the things faster, what happens behind the scene is you request google.com, Google sends the data back to the browser, but in a compressed format. It sends a 3 KB, 4 KB data. So your browser pass that data, uncompress that data, and then shows to you. Because the data is being sent on network. So to avoid delay or to make the things faster, first data is compressed. Okay. So there are different compression format that any server can accept. But what if server sends a compression that you are not accepting? So let's say you have a browser, Chrome, you ask Google for a page, Google sends that page in a compression format that is not known to you. So how can you uncompress that? All right, make problem, right? You got a data in compressed way and you don't know that compression and you cannot uncompress that. So to avoid that situation, every browser or every client interacting with the server says that, hey server, this is what the accept encoding I can only accept. So you need to send your data in that encoding only. All right. So all these stuffs comes under header manager. So header manager is what that send a request to server, and additionally it tells the server this is what the things that I am accepting, this is what my identity is. So your browser sends the identity to the server by using user agent header. This is what a header, we say it user agent. Through this header, your browsers identify to the server, and not to the server, your browser is identified by the server. So this is the identity of my Google Chrome. So if I send this user agent to the server, so Google, I hit google.com, so Google will know that the client which is requesting is a Chrome browser. In a similar way, if we go to the user agent of Firefox, that will be different from this. So that Google server or any server will know what is the client that is requesting. It's a Chrome browser, or it's a Firefox browser, or it's a Internet Explorer browser. So all these things, all these stuffs are being handled by header manager. Same thing you will be having in a JMeter as well as a element. You see here we have a header manager, so that whatever things you want in a specific way, you want some specific compression, so that you can tell your server that I need this compression, I need this format, so many things that can be sent to the server through header manager. All right, you got your answer? Okay, so let's quickly talk about proxy server, what it is. All right, so this is what a test plan that I have created through a proxy server. So what happens, like if you have to do a performance test for your website, and your website is a commercial website, say for now, which is a type of website that where customer come, log into the system, search for some product, add those product to bag, and finally check out by payment, and then sign off. Okay, this is what the flow is. So to do a end-to-end performance of that website, you need to hit those pages frequently, right? So with 100 users or with 1000 users. So to hit those pages, first you need to have those pages in a form of sampler, right? Because this is what a website is, which is running in my local system. So to do a performance test of that website, first I need to have the pages of that website. So I have a launch page where my website launch page is being hit. Okay, I have a login page where my login page is being hit. Here the users is being logged in the system. I have a flight page where users are clicking on flight. So this is a flow that we are going to cover. So what we will do that we will say that high number of users will be doing these activities, right? High number of users will be launching the page, logging the page, clicking flight, finding flight, choosing flight, doing payment, doing itinerary, and signing off finally. So why we are doing that? Because we have to generate load on my system. So to generate load, we need to access some pages on your system. So to access pages, you need to first add those pages in your JMeter. Got it? So how will you add these much of pages in JMeter? So one option is go to thread group, add a sampler, add HTTP request, which is here, name it, and if you have to, just let me make it upside. So if you have to do a launch page, so you need to put all these things URL. So I have parameterized it, not to worry about that, but you need to put 127.0.0.1/index.html index, right? In a similar way, all these things, all these stuffs you need to do manually. Are you being confused? A bit of? Right, no problem. Okay, so now say just I'm having a simple test plan as well. So let me open that. If it's making trouble to you, so okay, let me open this one. This is what a launch page which has 2 pages. This is what a login page which has 2 pages. This is what a find flight reservation pages. So we have to performance test this website. Okay, so this is what the website is. We have to performance test this website. So how can we do performance test of this website? We need to send so many of users on this website first. So how can we send so many of users on this website? So those users will be doing some activity on the website, right? Some users will be searching flights, some users will be doing payment, some users will be on login page, some users will be on launch page. So we will be instructing those users to go on the website and doing these activities for some period of time, so that we can exactly measure the performance. We can increase the number of users on requirement, but there should be a flow that all our users should be covering on that website. So that flow should be in my JMeter, right? Because my JMeter should be having a launch page, should be having a login page, should be having a find flight page, so that this thread will get this page, will get hit this page, will hit this page, will hit this page, and all these pages. Okay, and if I say 10 threads, so all 10 threads will be hitting these pages, these pages, these pages, so that a load will be generated on my website. But the problem is we need to add these pages in my test plan first, because if you don't have initially, if you have to test any website first, you will be getting a UI of this kind, right? So either you need to add thread group, and then you need to sample or HTTP request. So this is what would be your launch page, right? So in launch page, you would be putting 127.0.0.1. In port, you will be putting 1080 on which my website is running, and in path, we will be putting index.html. So this is what the launch page you have created. In a similar way, you have to create login page as well. You have to create find flight page as well. So this is a manual kind of stuff. You need to take care of all those URLs. So once you create a launch page, you need to create login page. Okay, so you need to create login page as well. You need to create find flight page as well. You need to create this page as well in your JMeter so that user can perform these activities. Getting my point? So you need to create all these steps in JMeter so that the user starts at the thread level and follow those steps. Launch page, find flights, making payment, signing off. Okay, so first you need to create a test plan. Whatever flow you have, you need to add those flows in a sampler. Okay, so this is one of the problem that if you have a long flow, you need to add each and every step manually here. This is something hectic. All right, so to avoid this thing, to overcome this situation, we have a very simple way. We have a recording server. So what recording server is, here you will be getting a test plan. If you right click, you will get non-test elements, and here we get HTTP script recorder. No worry, because this is not the final one that I'm going to tell you about the HTTP script recorder, but this is just an overview to make you understand. We will be taking care of in detail in the next session. So this is what the script recorder is. So what it do, you can set this up, and if you start this script recorder and you start using your application, so at this point of time, if you hit your application, your launch page will automatically get recorded in JMeter. So you will be getting launch page here. Once you log in into the system by clicking login button, your login page, your login page will automatically get recorded here. So you will get a sampler saying login page. Okay, so you manually need not to add these things. Once you click flight, it will be recorded one more sampler saying flight. Okay, once you click choose this, change this, and click continue, and next step will also be recorded. So launch page is here. Once you click login, there would be a sampler saying login. It would be recorded right there. In a similar way, flights, so whatever activity you are performing in a browser, it will give you a browser. So there is a browser option. You can do all these things in browser. Let doing all the things, and all the activity will get recorded in your JMeter. All the things will be automatically. You need not to put anything. All the things will be automatically recorded. All the server name, all the path. This is what the path is in index.html. And all the things will be get recorded in the JMeter on its own. This saves our time a lot, right? You manually need not to create your test plan, and that can be created by using a script recorder. Okay. So this is what the power of HTTP script recorder is. So how it works, I will let you a bit more about it so that you can get a clear picture, and I can expect that you will be able to record on your own if I give you a better understanding of it. So there is a question from Ranbir, why different path in launch page? So, actually, where you are talking about this one. So even in some situation, you can put the path here as well, in the server name as well, but this is what the standard defined way to put your path. You need to take this as a whole for path. I just put index.html just to demonstrate you. That was not exactly correct. So that will get recorded. So I have already recorded that if you want to see that. If you go to the login, you will get some path something like this, right? So these things will already be recorded in your test plan. You need not to worry about that. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So how is script recorder work? See, there is. Let me open the thread group and let me add a script recorder as well. So here is port 8888 and here we have a start button. But how it works, okay? So it works in a way, once you start a script recorder, so this is what my system is, inside which this is what JMeter is running. This is what JMeter is. Okay, this is the JMeter. And say we have to record a website somewhere, running somewhere on some URL, say www.google.com, you have to record, or any website that you have to record. So what happens? Once you start proxy recorder inside this JMeter, so inside this JMeter there is a proxy recorder. Okay, this is what the script recorder, say it is script recorder. Okay, proxy recorder, no problem, say it proxy recorder. So this is one of the standard naming convention that we use. Okay, proxy recorder or a script recorder or a script recorder. Okay, so what it does, like this, create a proxy between your system and your website you are recording. Okay, so what proxy do? Say you have Google Chrome in your system launched, okay, and inside JMeter proxy server, proxy recorder is running. So if you access this website through Google Chrome, this is what the Google Chrome is. So all your traffic will not directly go to this website, but through the proxy recorder. All right. So instead of this, all your website will be redirected through proxy recorder. All right. So what will happen now? Your Chrome browser will connect to google.com, but through this proxy recorder. Because we have started this proxy recorder on localhost on 127.0.0.1. This is what your machine is. So on your machine, it's running on some port. So by default, it runs on 8888. And we are saying Google Chrome that all the traffic should go through this host, through this port 8888, on which this proxy recorder is running. All right. So we say Google Chrome that connect to google.com, but through this domain and through this port. And where this is exactly where your proxy recorder is running. So all the traffic that will go through this URL, this domain on this port will be get recorded by proxy recorder. So whatever you do, what activity, network activity you do, will be get recorded by your proxy recorder and will get logged in this thread group. You can set that, you can say that your target controller would be thread group. So whatever is being recorded will get recorded in this thread group. All right. So once we start this, on 8888 port, we need to set up. I would like to do it in Firefox. So there is an option in Firefox or in any browser. Search for proxy. So here we'll be getting a manual proxy configuration, and I will say Firefox that all the traffic, whatever you will send, will be sent through this domain 127.0.0 and through this 8888 port. So all the traffic will go through this and this. We need to set this. We need to set this first. So once you do this and you say okay, and once you start your proxy recorder, it will be listening on that 127. Your proxy recorder will start at listening on 127.0.0.0.1 on port 8888. It will start at listening on that port, and we have already told Firefox that all the traffic should go through that port. So whatever traffic will go in that situation, if you search google.com, if you search anything, if you go on your website, record your flow, all the stuff will get recorded in JMeter. There are other ways as well. There are other tools as well through which you can record your flow. Okay, so there is a Blaze meter extension. There are other extensions as well. I will let you know those ways as well to record your website. But for now, this is what the understanding behind the proxy server, how it works. Okay. Why can't we record directly instead of using proxy server? So you cannot. So how can you record directly? So my point is, so if you do some, if you are going to cover your flow on your website, this is what your website is. So how can you record without going through proxy? Because recording is what we refer as like we are browsing your website and all that stuff should be recording, right? So if you are not using any proxy, your connection will be direct. And if your connection will direct, if you're not interrupting this connection, how those traffic will be recorded? So to record these traffic from your browser, either it can be Chrome or Firefox, you need to send that traffic through a proxy server. So your proxy server read those traffics and record. Okay. All right, guys. So this is what this was what the topic of today's session that we have covered so far. And in the next session, we will going to actually record a website and through proxy recorder and through different ways as well. And we will follow the course content. And many of you have asked about the course content, that where we can get the course content. So I would say that go to the Way to Automation website, and in course just go to the JMeter, and once you go to the JMeter, here you will find the download course content. So once you click download course content, you will be getting all the course content that we are going to cover throughout this course. But these are what the course content is. All right. So majorly these are what the topics that we are going to cover. But this is not only limited to this. If you have some extra or out of these course content questions, that will definitely be answered. Okay. All right, so just 5 more minutes if you have any further question. So there is a question from Pooja Devgan where I can find the recorded demo session. So today, have you yesterday demo session? Do you have yesterday demo session as well? If not, just ping me your email ID. If you have, then fine. So today demo session will also be published on YouTube or on Way to Automation website. You will be getting a link. You will be getting a link soon in email of today recorded session as well. So once this batch is started, so we are already started this batch, but once we got the final candidates that are going to register themselves, we will be creating a group, WhatsApp group, to frequently share the things of our quick updates that we are going to these things quickly. So for that, we will be creating a WhatsApp group, and we will having a email group as well. So email, definitely we do communicate with the email as well, but for frequent updates, we will be using WhatsApp group. So Kiran, don't you use WhatsApp, or you don't like to use WhatsApp for these communication? So there can be another alternate as well. Okay, fine. So WhatsApp group will be created, in which you will be added in the group. Okay. Any further question, guys? So no, there is no such certification kind of things. I'm not sure about that. I need to connect with Raman. So I'm not sure that we provide any certification kind of things, but you will be having a power of knowledge so that you can prove anywhere that you know JMeter and you know well JMeter. Yes, there is a question from Rajni Kulsesta. Does the course include detailed understanding of all samplers? So there are a lot of samplers there. We will be in detail. We will be covering HTTP and DB sampler, JDBC sampler. So an overview you will be getting, because all those samplers you will definitely not to go to use those samplers. So there are TCP, SMTP. So those are not much used. So there are very least used kind of samplers those are. But the majority of samplers that you are going to need, that will be all covered in details. You can refer to the course content as well. Along with the course content, whatever you need to know, just drop me a mail or just let me know. All your questions will be definitely answered. All right, guys. So if you don't have any further questions, so we will close this session for today, and I hope to see you in the next session. And further, if you have any questions, so definitely you will be having my email ID, which is jmeter@waytoautomation.com. Any kind of question, any doubt, any support you need, just drop me an email on this email ID, and I will revert back to you as soon as I can. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Have a nice day. Bye.